Hello everyone, it is the 3-card blind guy, and I wanted to thank you all for getting this channel to 1,000 subscribers and for helping this community grow, and it's been amazing seeing the format get the kind of traction that it has. As a matter of fact, if you are watching this video at the time it's being uploaded, you are seeing the format experience a huge amount of growth. As of the March tournament, we have more than 200 participants, which is by far the most that we have ever had. And to celebrate that, I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite commander decks with you. This is a deviation from the normal content that we will do on this channel, being 3-card blind content. You won't be seeing commander content really ever again, and except on maybe other occasions like this where there is a thing worth celebrating and I'm sharing something a little more personal. So this is Laundry Machine Slobad, and you can probably tell just from looking at him why he is called Laundry Machine Slobad. So Slobad at some point made his way into a pocket in my pants like 10 years ago, and those pants made their way into the laundry machine, and Slobad has barely survived. So this deck has a lot of history around it, and this card has seen a lot. But before we jump into the deck tech of sorts, or just kind of me story time sharing this deck, I'm going to cover a couple questions that were left on the previous video. The first of which is, why don't I participate in the main event 3-card blind tournament anymore? And the short answer is, I think that a format like this really benefits from having a moderator whose role is exclusively to moderate. And I'm creating content for the format, and I'm largely arbitrating the tournament and running the ban list and things like that. So for that reason, I think it's not necessarily appropriate for me to participate in the tournament, even though I think that people trust me and think that I have integrity. I think that allowing other people to compete in the main event tournament makes sense. I do participate in the side events in the Discord occasionally, and that seems like the appropriate way for me to engage with the format, because then somebody else is running the tournament and I can be a player who is not biased or you know, there's no reason to suspect that I would be involved behind the scenes in ways that I shouldn't be. So, next question is, what other Magic formats do I play? And of course, Commander is one of them. I also play Cube. Cube is probably my favorite way to play the game, but it's harder to play because you need to get a critical mass of people together to really enjoy it. But I do own a Cube, and I think it's very fun. And I also did play Magic Arena for a little bit. I climbed to Mythic rank around the time Alrund's Epiphany was a really, really strong card and featured in a really good deck. So that's how I managed to get to Mythic, and then I felt like I kind of had my fix with the game. I really think that the best parts of Magic come from interfacing with other human beings, and I feel that component is very much lacking in Arena. As a matter of fact, I find a lot of other digital card games to be more compelling than Magic Arena is. I think that Magic is a fantastic game because of the ability to interface with other people. But when it becomes a digital game, you're missing the greatest strength that Magic has, in my opinion. I've also dabbled in Modern at some point in time. I played the Boggles deck, which I managed to pick up all of the cards for very cheap because I got them before Modern was a format, back when I was just playing kitchen table Magic. And when I was playing Modern, the format looked nothing like it does now. Modern Horizons just turned the format upside down. I don't think the deck that I played would really be passable these days. I'm not sure, but I haven't touched Modern in a long time, understandably. So, our final question was, with respect to 3-card blind and the main event tournament, how will the community handle expansion? The question specifically asked, what would we do if we got like 300 submissions, which is not far off from the future because we have over 200 submissions this month, which really want to celebrate that. Round of applause to everyone. Super happy to see this level of commitment and involvement with the format. But so 300 is not that far off, but if we were to talk about something like 1,000 or 5,000 submissions, that would be, frankly, not really sustainable for the way things are currently set up. I want to get as many people involved as possible, but if the growth of the format is very sudden, I don't think we would be prepared to take on that many people. So there are some solutions that can be put into place moving forwards, but I think the most obvious one is just to get more involvement from the community in actually processing match outcomes. We already have a really fantastic group of individuals that we call the Game Gurus, who overwhelmingly process most of the matches, because there was this limiting region before for labor and processing matches, because it used to be just me doing match outcomes, and that got to be pretty impossible or really crazy, demanded a lot of time once we got up to like 50 participants. And now I do like at most 10% of the matches, probably less. The Game Gurus are doing it all, so huge thanks to them. And I think expanding that group and getting more community involvement is the most obvious solution to sustaining a greater number of participants. But there's also other things we could do, like potentially reduce the size of the pods, or have the ban list change less frequently, because then fewer new decks get submitted. There is a system in place in the database that basically lets us recycle previously calculated match outcomes, but you can't recycle match outcomes if the decks are 100% different every month. I think it's really exciting that the format has that level of turnover, so I do want to make it clear that that is just me thinking out loud here, that I haven't committed to any solutions yet, and for the time being, I want to go full steam ahead until we actually run into a real problem, because we haven't run into a real problem yet. We've actually handled the number of people that we've gotten pretty well every month. So anyways, with that out of the way, let's do a little bit of a high-level deck tech for Slobad. So this is an unusual commander. This is not a competitive commander, but the deck I have is not really a casual deck either, because it's using a lot of cards that will get people pretty mad. That the group of friends that I have, we are all on the same page, and we play decks that make each other miserable, and it's funny, but it's not funny to do that to somebody at your local game store that you don't regularly play with and doesn't know you very well. So don't imitate this unless you know what you're getting into. But let's quickly just cover. So we have Washing Machine Slobad. I also have Sun Bleached Slobad, which is an interesting one. So I left this out on the dashboard of my car for months on end, and I covered the actual art box so that didn't get sun bleached, but the rest of the card has lost most of its color. So it's practically gray, maybe slightly pink, but I think that fits the theme of the deck being artifacts and the fact that we have maybe like 5 colored cards in the deck. And then finally we have this custom art Slobad, courtesy of my brother, who is an artist, quite talented. As a matter of fact, this playmat here, this is my brother's art as well, and the sleeves feature the same custom Slobad, and you can see he's got a pithing needle, an Uba mask, and a winter orb alongside of the card, so there's some fun details there. So you get to pick your poison for which version of Slobad you run, just depending on how you're feeling. But anyways, what's cool about Slobad is he lets you play some really greedy and obnoxious artifacts because he can protect them by sacrificing junk artifacts. And those junk artifacts can be things like Terrarian, Implement of Combustion, Chromatic Star, Ichor Wellspring. These all draw cards when you sacrifice them. So you have cards that cycle, but also protect your core game plan. Very cool. And of course we have nonsense like Mishra's Bauble and Urza's Bauble. Similarly, these can be cycled or sacrificed to Slobad. You can't do both, but it's really helpful that these are 0 mana. And we have cards like Pyrite Spellbomb, which I'm highlighting because this is all of the things above, where it can be sacrificed to Slobad, it can be cycled, but it also can interact with our opponent's creatures. We can kill some small creatures. And finally, if we get a combo going, a loop, this can be used as a finisher to kill somebody, which it's disgusting that that's the way we're doing it, but that's the way we're doing it. And I mentioned we're protecting some really obnoxious cards. Some of them are win cons, but a lot of them are stack pieces. So here are our orbs. So we have a Winter Orb. This is a French version of the card. For those of you who don't know, this card is really not loved within the Commander community. It makes it so players can only untap one land each turn instead of all of their lands. I have a French copy. A lot of my old cards came from my godfather, who played basically when Magic was very young, so I managed to inherit some very cool stuff from him. We have cards like Torpor Orb, Damping Sphere, Trinisphere, and this is a Trinisphere that I altered. I wanted to do something minimalist to see how that looked, and I picked up a very badly damaged copy of Trinisphere, and I further damaged it, and the alter was kind of a solution to how damaged I made the card. But we have lots of things like this. I'm only showing the tip of the iceberg here because I don't want this video to be an hour long. And you guys have to get about your day. All of y'all. Here's 3 cards that are just they're not mandatory for any of the combos, but if you have any of these, you're probably in a position to start winning the game, and any combination of these with any of the kind of other combos and synergies going on can turn into an outrageous critical mass. As a matter of fact, if we have PS Revolution and Crack Clan Ironworks, that alone can be pretty devastating, where we can, if we have enough artifacts, we can just machine gun somebody, and they either die or they give us infinite mana. Cool. So let's go into some of our synergies here. So a lot of these cards I'm going to show you perform really well on their own, like Cloud Key, Semblance Anvil, and Sculpting Steel. But once we start putting some of our synergy pieces in the mix, like Spine of Ishsa, this card, when combined with some combination of these, and again, Crack Clan Ironworks or Pia's Revolution, if they get mixed in, gets even crazier. But Spine of Ishsa lets us machine gun kill our opponent's permanents, and notably, Sculpting Steel, if it copies Spine of Ishsa, it remembers Spine of Ishsa's return to hand effect, so we can play Sculpting Steel, sacrifice it, get it back to our hand, and every time we do that, we are destroying a permanent. Slobad is our sack outlet, of course, and if we manage to get some cost reduction involved, we can be destroying permanents for very low cost or potentially for free. Alright, and I mentioned Uba Mask is on the card sleeve, and the reason is Uba Mask is a pet card of mine. The whole deck is kind of a pet deck, but let's talk a little bit about Uba Mask, because this is a card that most people are not playing. I think some people would say it's not very good. I think it's very fun, at least. And it kind of turns every draw into an impulsive draw, where if a player would draw a card, instead it is exiled face up, and players can cast spells from exile that were exiled by Uba Mask this turn. Now, what's interesting about this, and maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that because the exile effect and the effect that is giving players permission to cast cards exiled with Uba Mask are separate lines, the second effect that allows players to cast it is not part of the replacement effect, and therefore you can sacrifice Uba Mask when your opponent draws something that you don't want them to cast. And if that's the case, that's really cool. And if it's not the case, I've been cheating for many years. But anyways, it's also very good at hating out a lot of cards that draw a lot of cards every turn. And if we combine it with something like Wheel of Fortune, we can get a huge amount of value out of Wheel of Fortune, but also make our opponents discard their whole hand, and they can't capitalize on the Wheel of Fortune refreshing their hand because Uba Mask turns it off. So, very cool card, probably only good in Slobad. I haven't seen anybody else ever play this. Alright, so let's take a look at another one of our synergies, and these two cards, again, very good in isolation. Playing Scrap Mastery often just wins you the game. And Codex Shredder is just another small little artifact that gets us a little bit of incremental value. But if we manage to have enough mana rocks out that we can generate 10 mana, we can generate 10 mana, sacrifice all of our stuff with Slobad, play Scrap Mastery, get all our stuff back, use Codex Shredder to get Scrap Mastery back, tap all our mana rocks again, play Scrap Mastery, and we continue the loop where we are sacking all of our stuff, getting all of our stuff back. We're potentially getting infinite mana out of that. And if we're pulling something through this loop, like Ichor Wellspring or Chromatic Star, we're also going to draw our whole deck, so we will win the game. Okay. Next, this is a bit of a greedy one, but again, because Slobad helps us protect our artifacts, we can kind of get away with some greedy stuff. Prototype Portal is quite good just on its own, where we can put, again, something like we can get an Urza's Bauble on there and be drawing a card every turn. That's all right. That's kind of our like bare minimum with this card, but we can do a lot better. If we get enough mana and are able to get away with this egregiously slow combo, we have Mindslaver or Ugin's Nexus, which either of those combined with Prototype Portal. If we have Ugin's Nexus, we basically just win the game because we get infinite turns if it's, under Prototype Portal. And if we get Mindslaver, we can potentially Mindslaver lock one player at the table forever, and usually if you can do that, you've already won the game. Okay, and our final synergy or combo that I want to cover in the deck are the Scrap Trawler loops. And there's a lot of different Scrap Trawler loops, so I'm not going to go through all of them because they're kind of interchangeable. They all try to do the same thing. Scrap Trawler on its own, again, with cards like Urza's Bauble and all of these other nonsense little artifacts that draw us cards, this card is a huge value engine just by itself, but it does give us an infinite mana combo that will win us the game. So, Scrap Trawler, and then we need something like Mirror Retriever or Workshop Assistant. And we're just going to pull out Mirror Retriever here for the demonstration here. So we need Scrap Trawler, something like Mirror Retriever, and then a lot of mana rocks or cost reducers and mana rocks to generate infinite mana. So let's just imagine that we have this setup here. And of course we have Slobad to be sacrificing our stuff. So we get 3 mana and we play Soul Ring. So now we're at 2, we're at 4 mana, Mox Opal, 5 mana, and we didn't need all of this in our hand, but we have 5 mana now. So we sacrifice Mox Opal with Slobad, and if we have Krark Clan Ironworks, we just win the game faster, and we need less to assemble this combo, but we'll sack this. Then we sacrifice Soul Ring, we get Mox Opal back, we get to generate 1 mana. We sack Mox Opal again. Then we can sacrifice Basalt Monolith, we'll say. Get back the Soul Ring, play the Soul Ring, tap the Soul Ring, sacrifice the Soul Ring, get back the Mox Opal, get another mana, sacrifice the Mox Opal, sacrifice Mirror Retriever. Mirror Retriever, with its own effect, will get us Basalt Monolith into our hand, and it's going to get, let's say, Soul Ring. Then we could play Basalt Monolith, tap Basalt Monolith, sack Basalt Monolith, get back Mirror Retriever into our hand, play Mirror Retriever, play Soul Ring, tap Soul Ring, sack Soul Ring, Mox Opal, sack Mox Opal, sack Mirror Retriever, and we get these back again. This is an infinite loop. We get infinite mana. With infinite mana, we probably win the game, but as long as we have something like Pyrite Spellbomb, once we have infinite mana, we can stop looping the Soul Ring, and we could start looping Pyrite Spellbomb, so we're no longer gaining mana, but because we have infinite mana, we have a way to spend it, so we could draw our whole deck, or if we've already got colored mana from something like Mox Opal, we can ping players out and win the game. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this little journey. This is my Slobad deck. There's lots of other cards in it, but I'm not going to cover them. I'll have a link to the Mox field in the description, so that if you're curious, you can check that out and see what kind of other nonsense I have going on. But I want to thank you all again for being part of this 3-card blind journey and tolerating this brief intermission here where I am celebrating with you by showing you my personal deck, even if it's unrelated to the content that we usually do on this channel. So again, thank you so much for making this community possible and for having it grow at the rate that it has. And with that, thanks for watching everyone, and see you soon.